Gregory Mahalik, FTH 212. This is week 3 assignment, April the 2nd. First and foremost, we want to clear the firearm so that it's safe. We have no feed source ammunition in, as well as we can visually and physically check that the chamber is free and clear. This time we'll field strip the firearm. We're going to depress the trigger. I like to just grip the slide with one hand, slightly pull back, pull down on the slide release, pull the slide off. Now we have our grip module. Pull the recoil spring out, pull our barrel out, and we have our slide. This time, firearm is field strip, as well as we look in our PSA book here as well. It shows a picture of the field strip firearm, and then it goes into the assembly procedures on the next page. So operation and role of various major components within this firearm. Of course, we have our trigger right here. We have our grip module. And jump out real quick. So critter was wanting to attack my chickens. So we're finishing mentioning the grip module. Then we have a recoil spring, our barrel, and the slide. So the slide's job is to house the barrel, recoil spring, the striker. Barrel holds our ammunition, in this case a dummy round, when it's in the slide housing and it's locked up against the breech face. We're going to try to get that down. There we go, behind the extractor. We're containing that pressure to expel that round forward, and then using that pressure below the slide to the rear. Recoil spring is then pulling the slide back to chamber the next round. We can chamber them all day, but if we don't have a working trigger group in the grip module, then we can't fire the firearm. So triggers forward, and it's kind of fast to, I just pull the trigger shoe to release the safety, and the spring tension wants to automatically go ahead and allow the trigger to go to the rear. But that is a basic quick operation of how the trigger were to function. We were to normally pull it to the rear, trigger falls, allowing the crucifix to drop down, allowing the spring tension on our striker to go forward. Firing pin hits the striker, hits the primer, expels the powder, bullet goes out, gun recoils, chambers the next round, and we run all over again. So areas that would be most interested in viewing properly determined functionality in the platform explain what you would be looking for during the troubleshooting process. So first and foremost, customer brings a firearm in. No matter what their complaint is, as far as if an operational failure, we want to run through a functions check. If we run through a dry fire functions check, we feed, we chamber, we eject, we extract, trigger resets, safeties are working, we then want to move to a live fire. But before we go to a live fire, we want to do a visual inspection of the firearm. I would go ahead and check headspace, and then we want to check barrel obstructions and make sure the firearm is safe for us to go out and shoot. There's no telling the condition the customer brought it in. They could have a round squib-blowed in the barrel. We don't want to put another round down behind it. So there, let's say we have a firearm that is just, it's worn out. Customers shot a lot with it. They continually train. We have some loose slide engagement. We're going to be checking wear on our guide rails. We want to check wear in the slide. The customer brings a firearm in and they're having issues feeding the next round after they fire. We want to be looking for broken springs on our recoil spring assembly. Say customers noticing a lot of cases coming out. We're having case separation. We're having rim damage. We'd want to make sure we don't have excessive headspace in the barrel. And we would also want to speak to the customer about what kind of ammunition are they running. Are they running reloads? Are they running too hot of ammo because it's an older gun and it can't withstand the modern day pressures? We'll say a gun's failure to fire. Like in week 1 or week 2, I think when I put that video in the discussion post, I had issues back here at the connector. So this customer's got a firearm brand new, they won't fire. Run through a functions check. Functions check we're going to reveal that we have an issue somewhere in the component. We'll tear it down and start visually looking at each component, running through them, finding out where the issue is in the cycle of operations, where the subassembly cycles of operation are going inside the subassemblies, causing the end result of a failure to fire. But the specific areas of every troubleshooting is going to differ from what the complaint is. But overall, what we're going to check every time is overall health of the firearm. Do we have seeing excessive wear at a component to where we can catch a failure for a customer before it becomes a failure? So every firearm, no matter what it comes in for, whether it's just a simple customer brings it in for us to clean it, functions check it, look over the whole thing, you can catch something before you get back to them. They come back in a week and say, hey, now this broke. Why didn't you catch it when you cleaned it? You should have had it apart. So do the customer justice, look over the overall health of the complete firearm, and give them the best quality service that you can. In level of readiness and performance troubleshooting like this in the future, bring me the firearm. While during deer season, I was hunting. A buddy of mine texted me. He had I think it was a Ruger Security 9. It's failure feeding. Started asking some questions. I said, man, are you leaving your magazines loaded? Yeah. You know, how long has it been fired since? Oh, it's been 7-8 years since we fired it. I'm like, okay, well, take your magazine apart, stretch that magazine spring just a little bit, stick it back in there, let me know what happens. He goes, hey, fire's fine. Same spring just got a little compressed. So overall, looking at overall health can take care of that. Sometimes just helping a customer out over the phone will win a customer over in the long run. The next time they go, oh, this guy knows what he's doing, I don't even want to deal with it. Just take it to him, have him fix it. So I'm more than ready to troubleshoot striker-fired firearms. Yeah, revolvers in the previous class, have the associates, pretty well versed in this. Always learning, always studying, always becoming better in my craft. All right, so rolling into headspace. We've already got our gauges laid right here on the bench. We've got our go gauge there, no go gauge right here. We're going to take our barrel, slide it into the slide. I just like to use my hand and just kind of hold it. We're going to go ahead and take our go gauge. We're going to slide it down into the chamber. And we're going to kind of lay it down and roll it in behind our extractor. What we're looking for is we want to see chamber to breech face. No excessive gaps right here. It fully closes, which we have. So we're going to pull the go gauge out. We're going to take our no go gauge. Same thing. We're going to just lay it down behind that extractor. And when we do this, we noticed that we have significant barrels not fully seating into the breech face. There's a significant gap down here. I'm trying to show it the best I can, as well as we have a major gap inside where we can see daylight. Looking from the bottom, it's not flush. Show comparison, put our go gauge back in there, drop it in. As we can see now, we're flush. So when it comes to the surfaces and the dimensions for the headspace, what we're measuring is the forward portion of the case or any part of the case that is going to stop continual forward movement. So in this case, we're measuring from the edge of the brass to the front of the breech, which is also the rear of your shell. And that is on that 9mm. Now, if we take a 308, we're going to measure headspace is going to be right in the center of where it starts to neck down to the rear of your cartridge to the front of your bolt face. So depending on if it's a belted cartridge or rimmed or rimless, that changes where your headspace dimensions are going to be taken from. So using a proper headspace gauge for the caliber and the type of firearm is critically important.